Hi, I'm Margaret, and today I'm making Simnel Cake especially for Easter. This is a beautiful soft fruit cake with plenty of almond flavour. Now the first job is to soak the fruit and to get the dried fruit beautifully soft and let it swell in the juices of the lemon and the orange. The zest will give it a fantastic citrus flavour. And when we pop the juice in, we're going to heat it gently, give it a good stir, and leave it to cool completely. The next step is to prepare the marzipan. I've got 1 kilogram here, and yes, we're going to need it all. First of all, I'm going to use 1/3 of the marzipan. The icing sugar helps to stop the marzipan from sticking. The first thing to do is to knead the marzipan. It's quite brittle at the beginning, but the warmth of your hands will make it smooth and pliable in no time. And as soon as you've done that, roll it into a ball. A little bit more icing sugar, and flatten it slightly. Now I'm going to roll this into an 8-inch circle. So if you turn it as you go, you should get as near to a circle as you can. There, now let's make sure it's 8 inches, using the 8-inch cake tin to check. Yes, a little bit more. And that will do nicely. I'm going to set that aside now so that I can use it later. And on to the dry ingredients. I'm going to mix them all together in a medium-sized bowl, not forgetting those lovely mixed spices to give a background heat. To this, we're going to add that lovely soaked fruit. And I'm doing this so that each piece of fruit gets covered in the flour and almonds, and this helps to prevent the fruit from sticking together in the finished cake. Now, let's use that butter. It's easier to do if your butter is soft. I left this butter out in the kitchen for all the afternoon, and it must be really cold in my kitchen because it's not quite soft enough, so let's fast forward a little bit. There, that's better. Smooth it up, let's make sure we've got no lumps in it. Yeah, that should do nicely. I'm using light brown sugar today, and I tend to sieve sugar like this. It does tend to clump together a bit when you leave it in the cupboard, even if it's properly sealed. So let's cream that in. Let's use the mixer. That'll make short work of it. Plenty of mixing at this stage. Let's get it nice and creamy. Scrape down the sides, making sure it's all mixed in. There we go. Next, we're going to add the vanilla and the eggs. Now I'm adding these one at a time so that I can mix each one in really well. I want to make sure it's nice and smooth before I add the next one. There's number 2. Again, let's fast forward, so I think you know what's coming next. There's number 3. And each time you add an egg, it loosens up the batter nicely. And the final one dropping in there. Now when all the eggs are in, scrape down the sides. And give it a really good whisk. It needs to be lovely and light and fluffy. This took me about 5 minutes with a hand whisk. And next, again scrape it down and pop in all the dry ingredients with that lovely fruit. And this time let's fold it in carefully. Not too much. As soon as the white flour has disappeared and every piece of fruit is covered in the batter, then that's the time to stop. Okay, now you can use a loose bottom tin. I don't have an 8-inch loose bottom tin, so I'm going to line it instead. A circle of baking paper in the bottom, and so that the sides come away easily, I've got a long strip of baking paper that I've folded in half, and I'm just going to place it in. The butter and the weight of the batter will keep it nicely in place. Now to start with, just half of that fruit batter. Let's smooth it round with a spoon. It needs to reach all the edges and be nice and flat on top. You can see how that's pushing the paper towards the edges of the pan. In goes that marzipan. This is one of the beauties of this recipe. You've got that lovely layer in the middle. In with the rest of the mixture. And again, flatten it out with a spoon. We want the top beautifully flat, right to the edges. And then bake for about 2 hours, or until a skewer popped into the centre comes out clean. Okay, to get it out, I tend to pull on the sides gently, and that seems to come out quite nicely, and then turn it over, knock it a couple of times if it doesn't come out straight away. Oh, the paper got left in the pan there, that's good. I'm going to do it upside down so it's got a really flat top. Another circle of marzipan now. This is another third of the marzipan. And this time I want a 7-inch circle. It's going to be slightly smaller than the cake. So using a smaller tin, I'm going to cut round those edges very carefully. And this is going to go on top of the cake. I think it'll be nice to have a bit of the cake showing around the edges. Make sure it's properly cut. There we go. And let's take that off. Lovely. Now I'm going to crimp the edges. My aim is to get 11 crimps, so that when I put the marzipan balls on top, there's a little crevice for each one. It takes a bit of fiddling. You can make your own pattern. Make it swirly or make it sharp, it's up to you. I'm pinching the bottom of each one, so I've got a really clear definition there. Another pinch just to make sure. There we go. That should look quite pretty on top. And again, I'm going to pop that on a plate and set it aside until I need it. And with the remaining marzipan, I'm going to make little balls to go on top of the cake. Each one 30 grams. This is the traditional way of topping a Simnel cake. I've popped in the description below a little bit about this. So knead each one and smooth it into a little ball. We do need 11 of them, but for those of you with eagle eyes, I only had 10 here, so I had to make an extra one before popping them on the tray. There we go. So, onto a tray with them. I'm going to pop these under a hot grill just for a few seconds. Mine took about 55 seconds, but keep an eye on them. And when they come out, they should be lightly caramelised like this. So, time to decorate. First of all, I've warmed some apricot jam. This is going to act as a glue. And it does make a really good glue. It's very sticky. Let's pop that little marzipan circle on top, and into each little crevice I'm going to pop a little marzipan ball. Now they're quite big, as they're supposed to be, but it takes some squishing to get them all in. But eventually, that's that last little one. Oh, squidge them over. Oh, just fits. There we go. Now I did wonder how to decorate this, and I've bought some little chocolate mini eggs of various kinds. I think I found Smarty ones and Milky Bar ones. They also do Galaxy, which are quite nice. So I'm just trying here what works well. A few around the edge, a few in the centre. And I also found these lovely little sugar paper flowers. They're so pretty, very spring-like. I thought I'd pop one between each of the marzipan balls. Now this is where I decided there were too many eggs on, and I took them off the top of the cake there. I think that's better, don't you? So there we go, that's Simnel cake. Just in time for Easter. Thanks for joining me. Have a great week, and I'll catch you soon.